Welcome to Bipolar She. I'm your host, Janine Noel. Before we get started, the content of this show does include suicide and suicidal ideation. If you are ever in need of immediate support, please dial 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. I believe in the healing power of writing and speaking our mental health stories in all their raw details. So let's go. Today I sit down with Ava to talk mental health and physical health. She's a physician and friend, and recently I felt compelled to speak with her about autoimmune disorders that occur with mental health disorders. I've mentioned having Crohn's disease with bipolar disorder, and I know I'm not alone in struggling with both my brain and my body. It has left me desperate at times, even seeking out a renegade healer with barbaric cures. Thanks to Ava for being my confidant as I open up Bipolar She's conversation on the mind-body connection. Hi, Ava. How are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Janine.
It's good to see you.
Likewise.
It's good to have a doctor in the house.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I need one today.
We all need one sometimes.
So this episode came to me because my bipolar illness has never just existed on its own.
Right.
It's always been intertwined with Crohn's disease.
Right.
And I've mentioned that a bit casually in some of those other episodes that we did. This is actually the second time I'm trying to tape this interview.
Really?
Yes. Because I'm going to talk about my physical health. And I had no idea that my physical health was going to be more of a struggle to talk about than my mental health.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I thought there was so much shame with mental illness and so much more of a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had Crohn's disease, when it was flaring, when I was feeling terrible, it was still okay. I'd be in a regular hospital where you get cards and flowers. Being sick is okay and like in a physical body. But when I was mentally unwell, it was very hush-hush. Nobody talk about this.
Right.
So I thought that would be harder. And in ways, mental illness has been tougher. Like the hospitalizations particularly were very rough. You know, you see a lot and your behavior is strange and everybody's acting strange. And I've had the chance to spend a night in a psych hospital and spend 2 years at Cedars-Sinai. I would have gone that direction.
That's quite the difference.
It's quite a difference. I think partly also my Crohn's has been flaring. So it's been about 2 years now where it's been pretty rough. And my life has been kind of quiet and private because of that.
Absolutely.
And I think just being in my physical body is actually harder for me right now and to talk about it. But I think there's so many of us that have both going on, mental and physical illness. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
Right.
Especially like autoimmune disorders. And just so I have this very like crude definition of Crohn's disease being it like a full-on attack from the mouth to the anus where your whole immune system goes on overdrive and attacks the colon. And that's what I always say. But I think there's probably a better description for it or something a little bit more technical.
So our immune system is designed to mount a response against germs, against invaders into our system. So if a bacteria enters our body, our immune system will fight it off and keep us healthy. With autoimmune disorders, our body cannot recognize that our normal healthy cells are our normal healthy cells. They see that tissue as being an invader. And so we're basically attacking ourselves. And so with Crohn's disease, it, as you know, can happen anywhere from the mouth to the anus. Oftentimes it's a segment of the whole gastrointestinal tract, or it may affect multiple different areas, as you know, as you've experienced yourself. And it, along with ulcerative colitis, they make up the two disorders that are considered inflammatory bowel disease. And there definitely is an autoimmune component. And as you mentioned, autoimmune disorders, they are so common. There's multiple different autoimmune disorders. There is type 1 diabetes. There's rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid conditions. There's so many. So it's a very common organ system in our body to have stop working correctly. And as you mentioned, a lot of patients have mental illness, and oftentimes it is tied together. My father, for example, has ulcerative colitis, the other inflammatory bowel disease, and he also has, whether it's depression or schizoaffective disorder, or maybe he's even bipolar. But so I know that from even my own family, they oftentimes are linked.
Yeah, and there is certainly the talk of the gut-brain conversation.
Absolutely.
And also the inflammatory response.
Mm-hmm. Right, which is why oftentimes in Crohn's disease, anti-inflammatory drugs are prescribed to try to get that inflammation down, because our immune system can attack the entire thickness of the bowel wall. And so all of it can be involved, and whatever we can do to try to get our body to simmer down that response can help patients with Crohn's feel better and function better. But it's very complicated, as you know.
Yeah, it is complicated. I think one of the worst years of my life, it was 2004, and I had 2 hospitalizations for Crohn's at Cedars-Sinai. And then I had a hospitalization for like a 3-week mental health hospitalization. And then I came up home to this area. I was admitted to John Muir, to the regular hospital. And that's when the first doctor said, you should consider surgery and give yourself bowel rest.
Right.
And I heard that, and then I ended up in another psych hospital. So that year I had 3 Crohn's hospitalizations and 3 psych hospitalizations.
Wow.
I think that it was kind of interesting, because I think now I'd go back and I could say, well, that's interesting. These 2 illnesses are sort of intertwined. It's maybe just one illness here, something that's oppressive, but I had to keep them really separate. And I'm still trying to figure out why I was doing this. When I had Crohn's, and I was in the hospital, and that's all I had. When I was mentally ill, there was no Crohn's. I would keep it like I can handle one disease at a time, but I can't think of them weaving together. And they were so woven. Even at the psych hospital, I'd take an ambulance over to the regular hospital because my electrolytes were off. And this happened in 2 different hospitals. So I was so sick with both of these diseases. And I was terrified when they told me about bowel rest, which would mean having an ileostomy.
Right.
And so they pull like a loop of your bowel, small intestine out through your belly. And so then your stool passes into a bag. And it's just a completely disfiguring surgery. And I did not want it. And I kind of fought it for like 6 years, actually. I was just terrified, and maybe a little bit more terrified because I really wanted to be an actor. And I really knew if that happened, that it would take away that opportunity. And I also knew that most people were having these surgeries. They were married. They had families. They already have somebody to love them.
Exactly.
Nobody loves me right now. And will they ever love me with this body?
Bag? Yeah.
With the bag. And I don't think, I still feel that way. I still feel that vulnerable with this surgery. There's also some psychology behind it that was a little bit upsetting to me. Because I feel like in my family, they really wanted to blame what was going on with the Crohn's disease. It's a Crohn's disease that's making her crazy. It's a Crohn's disease that is the real factor in this. And part of me said, no, that's not real. Like, we're not going to dismiss, genetics or my upbringing. We're not going to dismiss some things that went on and the dysfunction.
Right.
And if we just say that Crohn's disease is causing my mental illness, then it lets everyone off the hook. And I knew that within me. And so I would just fight for the two to stay separate.
Did you ever speak to your family about what you're expressing now, that you felt that they were putting all the blame on the Crohn's to take any responsibility off of how they may have contributed to your mental unwellness?
No.
That's a hard conversation to have.
There's never been a conversation, oh, I'm sorry this went that way.
Right. It's a hard conversation to have.
No, there's not been a conversation like that. I remember my brother writing me a letter, and I thought it was the nicest letter in the world. And it said, you need to stop acting because your brain has taken a major hit and your gut and your body is under too much distress. This is not the career for you. He basically listed other careers for me. But it was so much like, just do this, stop these things. You're causing this.
How did you feel about that, reading that?
I mean, what's so interesting though? I wrote a fiction.
Yes.
I wrote a fictional book.
Right.
And I included that letter in it.
Ah.
And everyone in my fiction class went, wow, this is a really nasty letter. And I thought it was a very compassionate letter.
I was thinking the same thing when you said he wrote me this great letter, and then you're just now saying what was in the letter. And I was not feeling the good vibes.
The good vibes. Yeah. In a fictional book, the letter didn't go over well.
But it was word for word what he wrote.
Yeah. And to me, it was like, oh, he really took time while he's serving and writes me this letter.
And he's a physician, so you respect and take that into consideration, that it's not just somebody who has no medical knowledge.
No, but it was really like, cut everything you're doing because you are causing these illnesses. So I really think my family thought that my desire to be an actor was not only causing my mental health to crumble, but also causing my physical health. But it's not the case, because even when I was younger, I had some signs of Crohn's disease and probably some signs of bipolar emerging.
Sure.
So I felt very much attacked for both of these illnesses. But I don't think there's going to be a conversation.
Right.
Or any sort of...
In your family.
No.
Do you feel that all stemmed from the thinking, the stigma that's associated with mental illness? Like, why do you think that they wanted to put all the blame for your medical problems on you, like it was something that you were doing? Because we all know that you can't give yourself bipolar disorder. You can't give yourself Crohn's. It's there. Different things might cause the mental illness to become symptomatic sooner than later, but it's in your biology. So putting the blame on you sounds very unhelpful. I imagine being you, and that sounds like a really difficult place to be, because you're struggling with both of these significant disorders that have a significant impact on your day-to-day life, your ability to function in the world. And then on top of that, to have this feeling from the people who I don't doubt love you very much, that somehow you're to blame. Like, I would be angry.
I was really to blame. And it was really my choice to be an actress that they kept pointing at. If I had only been an accountant, this wouldn't have happened. Seriously.
It's ridiculous.
That's the attitude. If I had just taken a steady job, this wouldn't have happened. And so that's where the focus went.
I have a unrelated question. When you were talking about having that year of 3 Crohn's hospitalizations and 3 psychiatric stays. During that time, I would imagine, of course, that while you're in the psych hospital, you still had Crohn's issues. And when you were hospitalized for Crohn's, you were still, of course, dealing with the bipolar disorder. Were the physicians, your psychiatrists and your gastroenterologist, were they in communication? Was that any kind of a team effort?
There was no team effort then.
That's really unfortunate. And that's, I think, a problem in the American healthcare system.
Yeah, these were separate illnesses.
But it's all in one body. So we need everybody on the same page, collaborating. Maybe that would have helped.
Yeah, there was no collaboration.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Crohn's disease, well, if you're healthy, you can just eat all these foods. Like they hadn't even done diet research or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then, mental health was it was entirely different and separate. And I think that was just a product of the times. And
of course.
Maybe it is changing to some extent.
I sure hope so.
And I had great care.
Mm-hmm.
I was at these fancy hospitals.
Those are good hospitals, yeah.
So in 2004, they were pushing me to get a temporary ileostomy,
okay,
which is the loop ileostomy. Right. They just pull out of you and have that bowel rest. Nothing can go through you.
Right.
But I said no 100 times because I was just really freaked out by it. By the time I was really facing surgery, my colon, my gut, everything was in such bad shape that the only solution was a proctocolectomy.
Okay.
Where they go in and take out the entire bowel.
Okay.
They take out some of the rectum and sew you up and give you a Barbie butt.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So, it was a really major surgery. So that was a surgery that I was just running scared from and led me to alternative places and seeking more help in a different way.
So do you, looking back, regret waiting?
There's a little part of me that regrets waiting.
Right.
But then there's a part of me that said, I was 30 years old and I couldn't do it. And I think mentally it would have been too hard on me. So I held out until they're like, you can't leave the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to that point.
And so you were saying you were looking for other potential sources of healing rather than classic Western medicine.
I always went with Western medicine, but I'd be on a drug and it would just really help 6 months. And then I'd fail on it. And then we'd try a new monoclonal antibody and then I'd fail on it. So it was pretty disappointing that I couldn't get it under control with some of the regular drugs. I got into Bikram yoga for a while. I studied with Bikram and I feel terrible even saying that. He's a rapist on exile somewhere.
You didn't know it at the time.
I did not know it at the time. And but I did join a bit of a cult. My experiences there. But the hot yoga made me feel good. It made me feel in control because for 90 minutes, I could do the same thing. I could feel somewhat athletic and it did make me feel good. And then I taught yoga and that was always a bit interesting because I would come out of the psych hospital and have to find a job, but I would just have this yoga teaching as backup. So I would literally be out of the psych hospital for 2 days, put the hair up in a ponytail and go in and teach a class. Yeah, I taught daily method classes completely out of my mind. And someone did say to me, you look like you're crying. And the owner of the studio never did anything. And I'm showing up and I'm teaching and I'm having these delusions. And I end up crying in the bathroom of the daily method with all the teachers standing outside. And I'm crying to my brother, crying to my sister. I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to get home. I'm having this psychotic break in these exercise studios. And I did go back to one of them after it all. But
I'm impressed.
But yeah, I was struggling. So I made it to 2008, basically, running. And there were some decent years in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I dated, but I was like a total buzzkill because I would have my Humira injections like on my lap in a freezer as we drove on a date to Tahoe. So, but I tried to date. I'm like, well, maybe nobody can see these imperfections on my asshole. Like maybe people can't see this. And by 2008, it was again the pressure, just nothing was working.
With acting.
Well, with acting, nothing was working with acting, but also no drugs were working for the Crohn's disease.
Oh, I see.
So, I mean, this is crazy though. There was a Humira commercial.
Yeah.
And I went to an audition for it and I was on Humira and I
Did they give you extra credit? Do you get special treatment?
I
like,
did.
Go to the front of the line?
I did. I said, hey, I'm on Humira and it saved my life. And I said something like that.
Right.
Like, it has not saved my life, but if it gets me a commercial,
exactly.
I'll do
Close
it.
enough.
I get the commercial, but I'm in a manic state. So when the producer calls, I go, can I bring my mom with me to the set? I was so, I was kind of in this like, things are heaven, things are hell, things are heaven, things are hell. Sounds were really upsetting. So I brought my mom to be on this commercial set. And I remember hiding at craft services with her. So yeah, Humira saved my life. And then my mind is like out there. Yeah. So I freaked out by 2008 and I was dating this guy. I remember him very well because he was a fireman with very low body fat. And he kept reminding me of that all the time. And I remember being at the Cheesecake Factory with him and I was digging into that wheat bread and that white bread.
So good.
And he turned to me and he's like, easy on the bread.
Next.
And so then I was at his house maybe before or after, and all he had were these big like medicine balls. So like,
oh, wow.
So you'd have to sit on a medicine ball to like eat.
Oh, that was
or
the furniture?
Drink. Yeah. So it's like you're doing core strength.
Yeah.
While you do everything. And I had like a glass of wine. I'm on this ball doing my core strength. And then he says, hey, there's an article in Men's Health magazine. You should read it. It's about this healer named John of God in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And so I'm reading this and I'm like, Men's Health? Well, this has to be true. Like Men's Health is a very mainstream.
Right. Medical journal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I read about it. And this journalist had Crohn's disease and his dad had Crohn's disease. Oh. And they traveled to Brazil to see John of God. And it was such a well-written article. You know, they seemed pretty positive. They didn't leave off too far from the experience. But I read this and I just went, oh my God, I really have to do this. I remember seeing him on like ABC7 and he looked like like a European uncle, like bad haircut, orthotic shoes. He's a little bit scary.
Oh, okay.
And then you learn that he has three main methods to cure you. And one is to take a butter knife and scrape your eyeball. That's one of the cures. Oh my God, that
sounds ridiculous.
Then the other one, he jabs forceps up your nose.
And that will help your Crohn's disease. How? We don't know.
It's magic. It's magic.
John of God. Yeah.
Okay. And so then he slices people open. He's cured breast cancer by going in and getting the nugget out.
Does this individual have medical training?
No, he was like a criminal on the loose.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Well,
it's Brazil. I was thinking, hey, they have different rules and stuff. Please consider this podcast as a work of advocacy, getting important stories to those that need them. As we gather ideas how to keep the show running financially, please do engage with the podcast wherever you find it. Offer up some stars and some likes. You can visit us at bipolarshe.com or at bipolarshe pod on Instagram. And thank you, as always, for your support.